your philosophy is flying high with two balanced wings, spiritual and material. And you just mentioned here about the energy centers. Now, for people in the corporate world, how can leaders incorporate spirituality within their work environment without alienating others?
Yeah, this is a good question that pertains to bring spirituality in the marketplace or in leadership. It's very easy because I've done it many times. In fact, if you see the word balance, material and spiritual wing, if you just fly with a lot of money and no spirituality and no service, you will go down eventually because you keep your money and you have this poverty consciousness and you will not be flying this lopsided lifestyle. If you have a lot of spirituality and enlightenment and you don't have the money, you have all the wishes to help some humanity, but you don't have the project because you don't have the fund. You see that? So, or if you don't have the spiritual and you don't have the money, you're in trouble. You cannot fly. You will not be able to fly high. So my advocacy to a lot of people is get as much money if you can in a clean way, but get enlightened also so that you will enjoy your money through your wisdom, through your values, through your ability to use it as a philanthropist if you want to donate your money for a good cause. So I think if you think of religiosity as spirituality, then that's where people have problems. Because a lot of people who I've met, the high-performance executive, they're not all religious. In fact, some of them are atheists. And if you talk about God, it's, oh, okay, let's not talk about religion. They were probably had burned out from their own religiosity. So when I say spirituality in the marketplace, it's all the practical spiritual aspect of, say, donating, or CSR, corporate social responsibility, to use extra money for development of the community where you put your money, your business and so on. It's about wisdom-centric leadership. To learn from your mistakes, to learn from your errors and so on, and learn the wisdom out of your weaknesses so that your weakness becomes a virtue eventually. So it's not just your strength until you die. You can add strength by having your weaknesses managed and convert them to values and virtue. So to me, being a great leader is not just being religious. I think some people hope not to be religious, but they can have a practical, value-centered leadership style where they just contribute a lot. They take care of their employees, they nurture them, they uplift them. Also, your clients should also have the win-win rather than I want to get as much money at the expense of the client or the expense of the earth. So they have to be working with win. It means to say, if you have a win-win attitude, your heart must be fine. So heart-centered leadership is a value because you become a nurturer. So I don't think that spirituality should only be thinking of religion. Is any contributing value to other people is also spirituality. If you don't have that Mother Teresa's heart, at least have a good intention in your mind not to hurt people. So that's called goodwill. And goodwill is the first rung in the ladder of great success. Why? If you have good intentions all the time, people feel trustworthy. They have trust in you or trustworthy. You're trustworthy. And they feel that you are dependable and you are reliable, so they don't even budge to ask your price or anything because they know that you are not going to hurt people. So I think spirituality in the marketplace should be a practice as a way of life because it balances your ability to earn money in a good way or to give and take. You practice the law of reciprocity. You want to get, but you have to give. And in doing so, what you plant is what you harvest. So you follow certain rules that as of the spiritual rules, and then you play the game. And you know the borders of the game, it's foul outside the line if you were playing basketball. So you know your foul lines. So anything you do here is still within the correct context of correctness. In the middle is the rightness. There's more virtue inside and there's more correctness. And there's a foul. So if you know your games in a spiritual environment or in a marketplace, I think you will follow the rules and you become creative in using that. And also people with more advanced minds, they tend to have philosophy. Philosophy of life that guides a person's non-negotiables where they do not do something wrong, I think is a spirituality in itself. It is, to me, a more advanced spirituality than just believing. Because they use it as the guidepost, the landmark of their life to be, they have the tenets, rules, principles, as a philosophy, and those are really good. And I found a lot of these rich people, they have that philosophy of life. especially the old generation, the Gen X, the baby boomers, they tend to have principles. Today, well, the principle of getting as much money is a principle today, money as religion, So I think those are important pointers that we should see, that people can have the philosophy, they have non-negotiables, that they should not desecrate life. Second, that goodwill and good intentions render them to be harmless. If you're harmless, that is good, because the law of karma, if you desecrate others, you also deserve to be desecrated. If you disrespect others, you tend to be disrespected. So that principle of the golden rule and the good law of karma is a good thing to be part of a philosophy in the marketplace. What you give is what you receive. What you do comes around and it goes back to your boomerang effect. If this is just the tenets that people use in leadership in a marketplace, I think that's enough to guide people as a principle.
There is so much richness in what you said, Master. I would like to find out more about the non-negotiables, because you mentioned it earlier. What are your non-negotiables? And you feel that every leader or any person who wants to be a leader must have within them.
When I do design my game plan every year or every 5 years, the first thing I do is the outpost of my consciousness. What should I not do? Then after that, I can do anything, expand and so on. So there are non-negotiables like your dignity, integrity. If that is priceless to you, you build it for 40 years, will your grandfathers become dignified and you desecrate it in 1 year because of money? That's a no-no. Because dignity and wisdom are difficult to build. And you can damage it in one mistake. And most people do not think when they're drunk and they're negotiating and they know that they're going to fool around and bribe, and then although they have a legal case and they will be exposed, and then they will damage their business and their brand. So I think if they project their brand as such, they need to protect the brand value, because brand value is the worth of a business. It's not just the goods and the products. So if you have a good brand, that you have dignity, integrity, that is your cornerstone. Don't damage it by any money or any opportunity. So that's non-negotiable. Second, if you are a person who is harmless and you don't want to fool people, you don't want to be a charlatan in business, you want the win and win, then that's your non-negotiable. Do not fool others so that you don't have the karma of being fooled in the future. So that's a non-negotiable. Harmlessness or good intentions or goodwill and the will to do good. If that is your cornerstone, then the opposite is to fool people is against your goodwill. So you have to, so aside from the do nots, you have to the do's. So if you know your do's in virtues, you know the do nots. But if you don't know the do nots and you only the do's, then you're in trouble still. That's where your blind spots. Another thing is do not advise in vices or any product that gives the vices a strength. So you have to embargo yourself from any business that deals with smoking, addiction, anything you don't believe in. I think that's your non-negotiable. Another thing is, I think you should treat others with respect, even they are lower than you, because I've always believed that you can see how great a person is by how they not respect only the great people above them, but the less people below them. And that's also because, especially in the Philippines, aside from filial piety, respect for older people has a high value for us. Respect for individuals, whether they're poor or not. And also humility is a good thing. And also living with our means. So I always value that I have to live within my means. And that is one thing that I almost desecrated as my principle in the United States. Because in the US, you are encouraged to consume, so you spend money before you earn it. Way ahead, 30 years for a house loan, yeah? And student loan, they have to 15 years student loan. So you are indebted to so many financial institutions instead of having to serve yourself and your family. You are paying so much bills because you loaned. So I think too much loan and too much investment on things you have not earned is not a good balance at the end. But I think you should value what you have, but do not blowfish what you don't have. Means I've learned in the American entrepreneurship that you blowfish yourself. If you have a Rolex, if you have a good sports car, and they think you are really good, they will trust you. That's like a materialistic in value formation on brand value. But I have learned that I did not succeed much of having so much loans and blowfish yourself. You have all the best cars, there's always somebody richer than you, a better car than you, more money than you, good looking more than you, a bigger house than you. So to use material as the measurement and benchmark to be great, you will always fail and feel frustrated because somebody will always be richer than you and so on. So I remove myself from that blowfish marketing strategy. When I came back to the Philippines, I went back to my roots values like live within your means, be humble so that you don't have to buy an expensive car and it's a saving in itself. Be practical and also do not brag about your things because you brag, you have more enemies and so on. So I understood that when people said, okay, I went to the bank and they approved my loan to be, say, $300,000 because that's within my means. My credit score is high. But why do you buy something within your means if you want to buy something more frugal and thrifty, which is just your criteria to buy something? And this is the mistake of most people today, even in the third world. If you approve for $300,000 loan, you take that one or even higher because I want to buy something within my means, which is not my value anymore. I just buy what I need rather than what I want. And this is where people are sometimes over budgeted in malls. You go and buy something and then you buy what you want rather than what you need. So first of all, when I put my calendar, I don't have what I want. I just have what I need and what I must and what I should. So in my concept, in my life, I have removed a lot of what I want. So it doesn't disturb me anymore. The desire of the gullibility is a sin in itself. Too much wanting might bring you to debts, and also too much accumulation sometimes doesn't fit anymore your envelope. So I have learned that even less is better sometimes. Even slower is better because we are used to a lot with high-speed internet, high-speed cars, high-speed trains, high-speed computer. And then we start to have time poverty. If you have all the high-speed things, how come you don't have time yet for yourself? Because we don't have that idea that slow down, pause, and think what are really the most important that matters most. Then you know that there's an urgent and important things first, rather than urgent things that are not important or important that are not urgent. And we are so confused on that. So I think, secondly, is I differentiated what is looking for happiness versus looking for pleasure. Today, people are so confused that when they have this immediate gratification, that chocolate, ice cream, buying knickknacks that makes you like dopamine, centric, we think that we are happy. Then after you buy something, you're not happy again after the new car. And then you want to buy another 4x4. Then you want to buy another, you justify, I want a rental. But it's more a desire that is not controlled because we have that autopilot of pleasure-seeking habits instead of looking for happiness. So we have to differentiate what is secrets for happiness versus secrets for pleasure. They're not the same formula. And people are so confused that if their dopamine kicks in, they get excited for a few hours and then they go down again. And so in my life, I have to know what is really the secret of happiness and what is secret of pleasure. I just forego that. I do more the happiness more than pleasure. And this is the much confusion. And I think this is one of the biggest mistakes of humanity today. They equate happiness with pleasure.
I think that's another book in the making, Master. For another interview, I think.